Hello Stampers! Today we're going to make a special twisted easel card. I've seen several of these on the internet. Monica's Passions, Monica from Britain, who makes several of these in different sizes. I'm going to make it in a standard US format, which is a 4 1/4 by 5 1/2 card, so it fits an A2 envelope. But you can see it has a nice little flat lay to go in the envelope, yet when you open it up, it stands up at a diagonal for your easel look. So we're going to start off with our artwork first. I'm going to lay this to the side. And your artwork piece is a piece of very vanilla, and it is 3 3/4 by 2 3/4. And we're going to be using the Fast and Fabulous stamp set, which is a Hostess Level 2 stamp set from StaminUp. I'm going to make a little bit of a background color using the filled in flower. This is a 2-step stamp process, and I'm going to use that in Pretty in Pink and just make a little bit of a light background to stamp my flowers on. And I'm going to use my StaminUp just so I can make sure that it's straight on my card. And I'm going to use the outline stamp, and I'm going to place one here. We're just going to use the StaminUp to line that up. And I'm going to use Rich Razzleberry ink. Alright, and then we're going to make another one a little bit offset, kind of at an angle. Don't make them exactly the same height. You want them to have a little bit of a depth. And just use your StaminUp and stamp that also in Rich Razzleberry. Okay. Now we're going to color those in with markers. And we're going to start with our dark marker first, and we're going to use Rich Razzleberry and just kind of do the centers of the flowers. And you don't want to make this like you're coloring it with color crayons. You know, I told y'all before, let's make it look more like a watercolor. The lighter the touch, the more it'll look like a watercolor. So just color in those little centers. And then I'm going to take my next darkest color, which is going to be the Pretty in Pink marker, and go out from there, just kind of picking up the edges of where the dark Razzleberry pen was. Don't go all the way to the tips, because that's where our lightest color is going to be. So just color those in, just swish, swish, swish. Don't make it too perfect. We want it to look like a watercolor. And then the lightest color, which is our pink pirouette. And we're going to go from there all the way to the tips. Because our background that we stamp Pretty in Pink is going to make this look like they're shadowed. Okay. Now, something I added just that's from a watercoloring technique, from being a watercolor artist, is that it needs to look like it might have some sunlight on it. So I'm going to just use a tiny little bit of Poppy Parade marker, and I'm going to use the brush tip. In just a few places, I'm just going to put a few splotches of the Poppy Parade. It's really kind of red, but when you see this on the card, it'll make it really pop with color, make it like the sun is shining on it, because it has a little bit of more orange in it than just pink. Okay, then I'm going to take my Pear Pizzazz pen, and I'm going to do a few little marks down the stem just to give it a little bit of green so that it looks a little bit more realistic. And just lightly, don't want to do too much. There we go. And that's all it needs. Okay, now what I want to do is mount that to my Rich Razzleberry piece that's going to be my stand-up piece, this piece right here. I want to go ahead and mount it to that piece. And that piece is Rich Razzleberry. It's 3 7/8 by 3 inches. And you notice that I rounded this corner, so I'm going to round off the corner of one side with the corner rounder. Okay, and then these can be mounted together with some snail. It doesn't matter that there's no border on the bottom, because the bottom's going to be covered up with our little flag. So just go ahead and adhere that down, and you can see where I didn't like the way I stamped my image the first time. I'm using the back of my piece of paper. Okay, just like so. Alright, now we want to make our scallop piece. It's going to go right along this edge, and you're going to need a piece of Very Vanilla, and it's about 1 1/4, and it's 4 1/4 wide and about 1 1/4 inches deep to go with your scallop punch. And I'm just going to snap that in my scallop punch. It should make it come out just exactly even with the scallops if you use that measurement. You can see here and here. And just line that up with your little silver markings. Okay, and I liked the idea of having it sort of like an eyelet, so I have used my 1/16 inch hole punch, and I'm going to punch little holes all along this edge. Just like that, just 1/16 inch hole along the edge. And now we're going to mount that to the back of our card, our artwork, and trim it off to match. So we're just going to put some snail right along this edge. And just lay my artwork down on it, matching up the top edge. Like that. And I'm just going to take my scissors and trim that off even to match. Okay, so there's our artwork ready to go. We'll just put that aside. Now, on the card, there's a special fold to this card. It's a 8.5 by 11 sheet of paper that has been cut on the 8.5 inch long side, leaving us a 4 1/4 strip that's 11 inches long. This will need to be trimmed to 9 3/4 in order to make it a 5.5 inch card once it's folded. So now we're just going to score on this card at the 4 1/4 mark, which will make our top piece be square. Just like that. Now to make it an easel card, we're going to need to score from corner to corner diagonally so that it will fold to make the easel. So I'm just going to lay that on one of my score lines and score corner to corner. This is what you have. You have a card that folds, yet it will stand up and make the easel fold. Okay? Now, we're ready to mount our artwork to this fold, and what we want to do is make sure we don't get any sticky on this part, so that when it is adhered, it'll just be adhered from here down, so that when it stands up, it'll open up easily without sticking. And we're just going to put this almost centered, just about 1/8 of an inch from the bottom. And what I want to do is I usually take, and if I just make a little pencil mark of where I want it to be mounted, and then I can hold it in place and do like this and flip it over. Then you can take your pencil and just draw across here, so you know you don't want any sticky beyond this point. So I'm going to put my snail, once again I'm going to just go along this line right here so that it's got a nice stick right at the top. This will get a lot of wear and tear, so you want to make sure you get plenty of snail on there. And then we should be able to just lay it down on our line and it be right in the right place. Just like that. Okay. And I've also scalloped this edge. So you just put this piece in your scallop punch and go ahead and scallop that edge. Just center it between the punches and it should come out just about even. just like so. And you can always trim off that little tip that's going to be sticking up because it's going to kind of stick over, but it's rounded, so it's okay. We're ready to decorate with our little beads here. And what I'm using are little silver beads, half metallic beads. Stampin' Up! Does not carry these yet, but hopefully it'll be something they'll have in the future. And they come in a little strip so that you can actually peel off a whole strip of them. But since these are going to be put around the corner, I'm going to peel them off of the paper individually and just stick them here on the corner. Like so. Okay. Now, ready to do our strip inside. Now, we want to make sure that our ribbon is on the outside of our fold so that when our card is folded, ready to go in the envelope, it won't be so thick. With this bow up underneath here, we want it to be at the very end.